This is the Daily Report and it's time for Insight Tonight. And to set us off on this very, very interesting and important conversation, I'd like to introduce a piece by Stanley Nyaringita. Now, they say that they're not the future generation, but the now generation. But the now generation, of course, armed with their phones and their voices, the young people have been able to shake the tectonic plates of politics and governance. This is what experts call a new phenomenon. But here is Stanley Nyaringita, and he unpacks for us the rise of civic awareness in the now generations, from clicks to progress. Take a look.
As temperatures continue to rise along Nairobi's busy streets, so does the conversation on this football field.
Story experience umesikia venye Chia anasema,
especially article 55. Ukisoma vizuri itakueleza kwamba kijana ni yule mtu ambaye inafaa kuwa educated na kuwa trained na government.
Person pale ndio anze kuiba ni ngumu, sababu ana hiyo experience.
In such informal barazas, these two gentlemen, former MCA candidate in Kakamega, Kevin Sifuna, and his compatriot, former Nairobi senatorial hopeful, Justin Misoka, educate the young people on their roles and rights as citizens. They also inform the public on the law-making process.
Wazee ndio ambao, wale wazee ambao wana haki ya kuwa wakae nje, vijana tufanye kazi. Sisi vijana ndio tunakuwa sasa hatuna kazi, tunahangaika tu.
According to IEBC, there are 22.1 million registered voters in the 2022 elections. Young people aged between 18 to 34 who had registered as voters were at least 9 million. However, on election day of 2022, a much smaller number showed up to exercise their civic duty.
Civic education it is.
2 years later, some of the young people who won't typically toss themselves in the murky waters of politics and governance are very quickly redefining the landscape with social media as their playing field. The hashtag Reject Finance Bill 2024 movement, which saw President William Ruto do away with the contentious bill, gained so much popularity globally.
Stop killing us! Stop killing us!
The build-up to the street demos saw young Kenyans on different social media platforms record short clips educating others on various sections of the bill, which they termed as punitive, while some translated the bill into bite-sized chunks and in their native languages.
I'm Marvin Mabonga. I come from Kimilili constituency.
On the 5th of July this year, President William Ruto made true his promise to host an X-Space to engage with the Gen Z. Over 900,000 listeners tuned in, despite the frequent hitches that finally saw influencer Osama Otero hosting it.
Listening to the feedback today on X, I think I have gone home with, I need to listen more. I need more empathy.
The tech community coming together and looking for new ways to disseminate information. The doctors coming together and forming an association wakituambia, kama kuna protest kesho, we'll have a booth in a certain point so that when you're injured, you're going to be treated for free. Seeing even the PR, communications, influencers, and all that family coming together and assisting in whatever way they can.
And so there is so much free flow of information. We need to hop on that train. We need to know, what does the Constitution say about this? What are my rights? What are my privileges? What are my responsibilities?
The focal point of the effort by the protesters has so far morphed into a fact-finding mission of what the ruling government has undertaken, with young people creating platforms accessible to the public.
Because there is not enough water for the residents in Eldoret. And this one was supposed to provide 23 million liters per day.
Previously, we have had some semi-officials and NGOs and people like that saying they are doing civic education, and they're usually targeted in small places. But here we have mass mobilization by the youth themselves involved, which is a new phenomenon in itself.
Young people in Africa are expected to make 42% of the global youth population by 2030. So with this kind of a youth bulge, how critical is civic awareness, particularly in Kenya, in the coming years?
Many of them do not have IDs. And so they need to press to get the IDs there. Because you cannot register unless you have a what? An ID. And that's a major drawback. For those who have IDs, then ensure that they register. So you have two levels of operation. Ensure that every 18-year-old has a valid ID. And then ensure that every 18-year-old who has a valid ID register to vote. And then ensure that on the voting day, they turn out to vote. You know, that's those 3 steps. So if the spirit they appear to have continues, then they will have a big impact on who becomes president.
Recent data by the National Population Policy for Sustainable Development and PPSD shows that the number of youth between ages 15 and 34 is expected to reach 22.3 million in 2030.
Ya kuboresha uongozi wa taifa.
Stanley Nyaringita, TV 47.
Alafu na track record